One of the topics that I promised y'all we would do more talking about is aging abroad. I moved abroad nearly 10 years ago at age 41 with the intention of not returning to my home country. And that means I intend to age abroad. And there's a lot of things we need to take into consideration, a lot of things we need to plan for. And so this is the first of several conversations we're going to have here on the channel with folks who are actively aging abroad, hopefully to help you on your path to do the same. If you are new here, my name is Adelia Aborashade. Although most people know me as Picky Girl Travels the World, I am a financial educator and coach. As I mentioned, I left the US nearly 10 years ago. And here on my channel, I like to share what I know. That includes all that money stuff that nobody taught us growing up, the ins and outs of solo travel as a woman, and what it's like to live in another country, as well as how you can too. And if those are topics that are of interest to you, subscribe to the channel. That is the best way to make sure that YouTube continues to bring my content to your feed. Okay, today I have a very special guest with me. Um, I am I'm so excited to have you on the channel because I have been meaning to invite you on for the longest. So welcome to Picky Girl Travels the World. Um, on the slim chance that the folks that watch my channel are not familiar with you or single women retiring abroad, can you take a little moment and introduce yourself to the people?
Absolutely. And thank you again, Adelia. I watch you too. I watch you, I watch Stephanie, and what's the other one?
Rashida?
Rashida, right? And in talking about single women, you all had a part in it. My name is Maggie Lazar. I am a retired nurse practitioner, and I have been retired full time in Panama since 2023. My career, healthcare. I was an entrepreneur. I own a couple of businesses. And then I decided to retire early. And I came to see the canal in 2019 and fell in love with Panama. But I was gun ho, I was going to retire in the motherland. So I did go to Africa, visited two countries, up to three now, and I did not get the same connection because to me that's important. So I came back to Panama. But in the meantime, when Stephanie and Rashida interviewed me, I was on my way to South Africa to for my a 2 year assignment in South Africa. But then things happened. I did not stay. I returned after 90 days. So when I returned, November 2022, I'm getting my dates mixed up. And then I was like, okay, I'm home. I'm in Panama. In the meantime, I had decided on Panama and did my residency and all that. And then I was like, I need a project. I'm one of those, I was 62 or 63 at the time. I said, I need something that's going to inspire me, that's going to be of service to others, trying to put my nursing and management experience together. I started watching a lot of videos. I had a little channel. I remember I told Stephanie, I called it A Nurse in the Kitchen. And they were like, oh, we like that. Can you cook for us? Because I'm a chef as well. So I started doing research, and in watching your videos, everybody's videos, I was like, I'm seeing a pattern of people asking the question, well, I'm in my 70s, I'd love to retire abroad, but I don't know what to do. How do I start? And I was like, ding, ding, ding. I was like, I did it. I just did it. So I can share my experience. And that's how single women retiring abroad came. I also took Stephanie's challenge, YouTube challenge, where she said, I think I took two. The second one, she said, oh, when I got started, because we were salivating watching how many subscribers she has, right? And then she said, I did a 26-day or something challenge where she posted every single day. I said, ding, ding, that's what I'm going to do. So I did a challenge to myself. I'm going to post one video a day for 30 days, showing women, older women, how to move to Panama, get your residency, doing the research, blah, blah, blah. And then that's how the name came up. And then I was like, someone asked me, how did the name come up? I said, I can't remember, the day, but I knew my audience is very specific. It's the single older woman who's looking to retire abroad and also thrive abroad. So we've kind of progressed to that level. So that's in a nutshell. That's what I do. Keeps me busy, keeps me excited, challenged, and I can create, and I'm a happy camper.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's back up for a second. You
Okay.
said that um, you came, you visited Panama, you visited the canal, and you felt something in Panama,
Yep.
but your mind was set on, oh, I'm going to retire to the motherland.
Mhm. Like a lot of other
And
people that I know.
yeah, I don't know. That caught my attention because one of the criticisms that I get, that Stephanie gets, that Rashida gets is y'all are always talking about somewhere in Latin America, somewhere in Europe. It's never about Africa. And so I want I want to talk just about that for a little bit. Why did you think you were going to retire to someplace in Africa?
I think as people of color, we always have this identity. We're questioning our roots. And of course, if you recall, I think it was in 20, I don't remember, but close to before the pandemic, when the president of Ghana came, made around the US. And I remember watching him in Washington saying, come home, come home. So, a lot of people like us have gone to Ghana and now other countries on the continent. But that pull that we all have, I believe, to retire, you know, to the motherland, to be among our people, and feeling like this. For me, when I went to check out Ghana, it wasn't to retire. I was like, yeah, I want to retire, but I'm still in the working, phase. I was in my, and I'm like, maybe I can do a business. I went for a business mindset. So what I did, there's a woman who's Ghanaian who's in the UK. What she does, she kind of matches you with some businesses on the ground, and then that's kind of like your foray into testing it, right, to see if it will work. And I did that. I spent 3 weeks in a hospital outside of Ghana just to see the healthcare system. In my mind, I was like, I can open assisted living, I can do this, I can do that, because that is my forte. That's what I do, dealing with older folks as a medical professional. But after the 3 weeks, I was like, no. I was concerned about infrastructure. I was concerned about um, healthcare is not delivered the same way, and it's not really to the it wasn't what I expected. And especially as an older person, I feel like, and I tell people when I do consultation, it's like you need to find a place where you're going to have good health care that you can afford, because that's important to us. So that was a no no. And then, I did a video about why I chose Panama, and I get a lot of flack because of that. But I said mindset was a big thing for me. The mindset is very laid back. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with laid back, but it's the idea that this is how we do it. We're not willing to change it. We're not willing to explore any other ways. And I'm broad-minded. I can say, oh, I was wrong. Let me try it over here. I felt that I was going to be stuck in this is the way we do it. I don't want you to bring here and change it. But from a business mindset, I don't think I could handle it. And I didn't think that if I put money into it, you have to hire people, it was going to be and I felt that at my age, I said that all the time. If I were
And
in
what
my
was, well, wait,
40s,
I'm gonna interrupt you right here. What was your age at this time?
I think I was, when I went to Africa, maybe 59, 60. I wasn't,
Okay.
65. That's why I was looking at businesses, not just to retire. But I felt if I was in my 30s and 40s, I felt like I could have the time to kind of assimilate. But I was like, I just don't have the time. And I'm a very impatient kind of person and very rational too. Even if I have this idea, if it's not going to work, I'm going to leave it over here. So that's what I did. And then I went to Rwanda and I was like, mm-mm, no. And people love it. I mean, it's gorgeous. But it's one thing to visit, and it's another thing to live. As you know, it's not the same thing.
Yes. And you also said that you just didn't feel what you felt in Panama. And so tell me a little bit about what it was that you felt when you visited Panama.
Like, oh yeah, you're gonna get me in trouble. Every time I say that, some African would say, "Well, we don't want you over here anyway." And I'm like,
Girl, I'm half Nigerian and I did
"You
not
get it
choose to
too."
relocate to Africa. So I get it all the time.
Well, I'm Yoruba when I did my genetic thing. But anyway, when I came to Panama, it was just an item on my list, right? I went to the canal, and I remember like it was yesterday, and I tell that story all the time. I was sitting in a boat, went on a tour, and the water was calm. They shut off the engine. The monkeys were in the trees, and I look at the vegetation, and I had this sense of peace and a connection that I cannot explain to you what it was. But it was like, and I wasn't looking to retire, remember, I was just visiting. I was like, wow, I really like the way I feel about this place. And then we went to eat, everything was fresh. I was like, the feeling was really strong. So when I came out of Africa and I said, no, I don't think it's gonna work for me right now, I said, let me go back and check Panama, see if the feeling is the same. And I made 3 other trips and it was the same. I really liked everything about it. Even now, I'll go out, I'm looking around, I said, I still like this place. And I know you know what I mean. We have
Oh yeah.
challenges or whatever, but you got to know where you got to go where you feel right. And that's
And
important to me.
I think that is very important. And I will admit, everybody does not have an experience similar to
That
yours
is true.
or mine, because the first time I ever visited Mexico City, it was like, of course, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I belong. And I don't feel that way anyplace else.
In a lot of places,
Um,
yes,
and so, like you said about like, I like how I feel here. And
exactly.
so there may be somebody who ends up watching this video who has some preconceived ideas that when they think about going abroad, particularly if they are a Black woman, they may feel like uh, obligation might be too strong of a word, but definitely like, I should consider Africa. I should consider this place. And I'm of the mind with you, like, consider the place where you feel good, that it feels
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. And I don't think we should feel because of ancestral identity or whatever that we must. And when I tell people I prefer to be in Panama versus being in Ghana, some people open their eyes. But unless you're able to think more deeply and not just look at the surface, you're among people of color, yeah. But just because I'm brown, I'm black in Africa doesn't mean I'm African. And some of them
No.
will let you know you're not African. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be African. Oh yeah, we were stolen. Yes, 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 and yes. But that still doesn't change the fact that culturally you are not on the same level. Now, yes, they're very kind. Oh, I mean, the nicest people, the weather, the food, everything is great. But I think the mindset was really what kind of got me, and the infrastructure and the healthcare. So, and I have to tell people, I'm not saying Panama is the best. I'm not saying that. It's just the right one for me. And
Because
that's
it is
all.
not the right one for me.
Exactly. I know you came here, you're
Not
like,
at all.
oh, way too hot.
No, no. Because I think about, I too was like, I want to see the canal. I went to Panama and I was just
Uh-huh.
like, this is not my place.
You went, you saw, and you returned home.
Okay. So you decided to retire early
Yes.
and you said, I'm going to move to Panama. Now, when you made that decision, it was, I am moving to Panama. I am going to be retired in Panama. Was there a version of this where you saw, okay, I'm going to live in Panama for some years, but I will return to the States?
No.
It's the look on your face is like, girl, what?
What are you talking about? What you talking about? Remember
Okay.
that little guy?
I asked that because, the main thing that I wanted to talk to you about is like retiring abroad and aging abroad. And there are some people who their plan, whether it's Mexico, it's Panama, it's wherever, they go for a while, but there's an end date. At some
Hmm.
point, they anticipate aging like uh back stateside. And
Well, having their fun abroad, and then when whatever hit
yeah,
the fan, then return.
then go back. And you sound like me, like, no, when I left, I left. I'm not going back.
Right. But I think for me, one thing we didn't talk about Adelia, it was like, okay, yes, I love the way I felt in Panama, but I did have my must haves.
Okay.
And that's why Africa didn't work for me. The first thing was I need to feel good there. And Panama, check. Ghana, check. I love Ghana. Beautiful place. I remember the first day I woke up, I was like, oh my God, I can't. I mean, you have that newness and sense of wonder. But healthcare was important to me because as a nurse practitioner, being in the long term care space in the States and witnessing how degrading it becomes as somebody ages in those spaces where you have to lose everything you own to qualify for Medicaid and the way you are treated. And I tell people, listen, I've been in the little, I don't say that word, but very humble
Hmm.
facilities to very fancy looking facility. I said, do not believe any of that because those marketing people are being paid to sell you that everything is hunky dory 24/7. Oh, staff. No, no, no. We as nurses know what goes on. When you have one CNA, you give him 12 patients to take care of. They're overworked, they're upset, and that's when abuse happens. People get neglected. And I was like, that's the end I'm looking at, and I don't want that. So, to answer your question, it wasn't just about retiring, it's aging abroad. So when I'm looking at a sister who said, I want to join SWA, we say SWA as a acronym, but I'm like, can we have coffee? Because I have to make sure you're on the same page as that what I'm trying to create is a model of aging abroad that is sustainable and affordable. So, in my role, I'm supposed to gather information about healthcare, physicians, long term care, availability, pricing. That if when a sister enters our group, it's like, sis, and we're trying different kind of thing. Like we do clusters. We want to nurture the relationships that are really close, so that when something happens to a sister, we're like, we got you, sis. That means coming to visit, meals, helping you go to the doctor, helping you find help that will come to you at home. Because remember, I own a home care company. So I know how it can be done at home, but over there, you can't afford it. So here, and I know in Mexico, I know that this lady says she's got her mother, she's got 24-hour care. That's what the sisters are looking at, and that's what I want the sisters to consider. That we work our living arrangement, your expenses, you manage it so that when, it's not if, you need
That
that
part.
help, that we can come around you and say, you're not by yourself, so you don't have to run back to the States. So that takes care of the idea. It's not just retirement, it's aging abroad. We get our cremation plans in place. We just cut all that stuff so that Or what happens if they find me in the apartment? A, B, C, D. This is who you call, blah, blah, blah. Your emergency plane, your emergency bag. Oh, yeah. We are serious about this. We are going to die here.
I am so glad that you made that distinction between like moving abroad and aging abroad,
Aging
because
abroad.
one of my great frustrations with US culture is we are very death phobic. Like we don't want to talk about end of life. We don't want to have conversations about it. And like you
Yes.
said, it's not about if.
It's
It's a
when.
matter of when.
Yes.
And a lot of, you were talking about, folks having to spend down their money for Medicaid to step in.
Mhm. Yep.
I was like everybody else. I had no idea. But when I was in my mid 20s, my mother had a stroke, lost use of a side of her body, and had to, because I had two small kids at home. Well, hell, three small kids at home. I could not, plus I
Take
had a
care
full
of
time
her.
job.
Hmm.
It couldn't be me. So it's like, okay, what is the process for all of this? And then I find out, like, oh, you have to be destitute
To
for the
qualify.
government. See, nobody talks about that. Everybody kind of has this vague, nebulous idea that at some point, if you cannot live alone, you can't live on your own,
Yeah.
you go to a nursing home.
Hmm.
People know nursing homes are expensive, but nobody talks about numbers,
Yep.
about
Yep.
just how expensive that is. There is some vague idea that the government can help with that. But most folks don't know that in order for the government to help you, you have
And
to
you have
be
nothing.
destitute.
And even
And
even in my apologize, even in my job as a home care company, I would go see a patient. They're like, "Oh, my doctor said you're gonna stay with me." And it's like, no, even the physicians don't know how it works. They don't understand the gap that happens when you send somebody home. Nobody's gonna sit there with them for 24 hours. Medicare doesn't pay for that. Medicare doesn't pay for that. So after I see you for an hour, it's like, see ya. And then you're home by yourself. You can't take care of yourself. You're not eating. You're falling, and it's not a pretty ending. And we're trying to kind of buck that trend. And just like you have, there is a program in I think Thailand or one of the Asian countries where people from the UK send their loved ones there with dementia and Alzheimer's because you have somebody like that in facilities. They're being abused because people lose their temper. They get neglected. So now they take him to Thailand or this little place where they revere the elderly. And then what they were paying at the facility over there, they're paying half of that for them to have good care for their loved one. But that's a big decision to take someone out of their element and then ship them over there. Well, we're doing it willingly. We don't want anybody having to tell us, well, you can't afford to stay here. Therefore, what are you going to do? And it doesn't matter if you sell your house, your investment, you're going to use it down. Because at $6,000 a month, how long can you live on that?
that part, my mother
Yes.
happened to get disability,
Hmm?
because she could not work. My mother was 58.
Wow.
She
That's
was
young.
she was not old enough to be retired. So she was fortunate that she got disability, but then when it was time to pay the nursing home, all of that money went to the nursing home, and the
That's
nursing home
it.
took was it was priced in excess of that.
Hmm.
So, people don't understand that. And so
The other
go
part that
ahead.
happens to some people is that, oh no, okay, I promised mom I wouldn't put her in a nursing home. So they bring you home, they're getting your social security check, but you're not getting the care. They're keeping you there because of the money. And I remember going to see a little lady. I know they were getting her check, but they put her in a little room in the back of the house with a twin bed. She was sitting in her wheelchair. They brought her meals to her in the back of the house. She wasn't even allowed to sit at the table with the family. I mean, that would kill me. And that is
That's what
how
I
a
was
lot of people are living that kind of life of sadness.
that's what I was going to say. It's that I think I know we are phobic and we don't like to talk about this, but we need to have more conversations about what do I want that to look like? What is if we're at this situation, I don't want this, I do want that. That if because we could also get into the like familial expectations, because some of us are from cultures where there is this expectation from the jump
Yes.
that you and your siblings in some way, shape, or form are going to contribute to the elder care, whether it's mom has to live with you, but I pitch in this amount of. There are those people who come from cultures that way.
Yes.
Then there's a lot of folks who come from a culture where we don't ever talk about it, not in
Right.
not in real ways.
Right.
And so what I'm hearing you say, and I am so glad you are out here saying this to the world, is when you're making that plan to move abroad, you need to also consider, what does it look like to age abroad? How do I want to do that?
Yes.
What are the resources I need to make this happen? How much is this going to cost me? What does that look like?
And that's what that's my main job right now. Not, that's why I meet with the sisters and I'm like, tell me your Panama story and what is your expectation of you being here? Are you here long term, or you just passing through, or you're gonna say, well, I'm gonna be here for a few years and then I'm gonna go to Thailand or whatever. I just want people who are committed to it, because it's just a waste of time for you to just, dabbling here and there. And I have to say, most of the sisters, we are all want to be cremated. None of us want, the brightest, all the expensive treatments, and to be flown back, to for the research studies. And we have ladies here. I met an 79, soon to be 80-year-old the other day, and I'm just salivating when I mean, she's sharp. She lives alone. She drives,
In
and we have
Panama, she drives.
in Panama, she drives. Yes, that traffic.
That's
I was like,
impressive.
whoa, that is very impressive. I don't even have a driver's license. I'm not driving. But they understand. They don't want, they're not fighting the fact that death is inevitable, right? And for me, and I tell the sisters, even when I talk to them, I'm like, make sure you have your affairs in order. Get your do not resuscitate your next of kin or whoever. But when you come to Panama, you have to redo them because they don't apply. Different countries, different rules. But then we have classes when we meet. It's like, what happens when? If they find you, what is the step? One, two, three, four. Are you hooked up to a cremation place or a funeral place, or have that, and not having to say, oh my God, you're just so morbid. What are you talking about that? Listen, we're heading towards that. So let's have a frank conversation. It cannot be taboo. If you're afraid of dying, you probably don't belong in this group. And I said, there are lots of other groups. If you just want to go to lunch, to dinner, to the rooftops and stuff, there's nothing wrong with that, sis. But we are on a mission here. So that's what I think differentiates our group from other groups, because we are creating how we're going to age. And I tell people, if you're in your 60s, you could live 30, 40 years. And talk to Adelia, how are you going to finance all that? Because even if it's affordable, but it needs to stretch.
Yeah.
And with the threats that we are seeing coming from the other side, you don't know what's going to happen. They may not cut Social Security, I mean, get rid of it, but they might slash your benefits in half. How are you going to live? So you got to think about all this. It's not just the logistic, but the financial part is so important. How you live, how you spend. You cannot be going out with the girls to eat 3, 4, 5 times a week. I mean, if you can afford it, go for it. But the majority of us do not live like that.
Because this is not something that people are putting in their budget when they really should. Like,
Mhm.
there comes a point, because you've hit the nail on the head. A lot of the conversations people have with me, because I'm a financial educator, it's about, okay, how can I afford the move?
Mhm.
But there's not so much about after the move. Like, particularly with US Americans, the goal is, I don't want to move to another country and struggle. I get that. But like, particularly if you're somebody who's moving with children, you still have to figure out, like, you're still thinking about how am I going to educate those children? Like those things don't go away. This doesn't go away either. Um, you mentioned that being outside the US, a lot of that care that people tend to need later in life is at a much more affordable price point.
For now.
Um, for now. And, you know, I don't know. Let me ask you this. Do you have an opinion about long-term care insurance?
Even in the States, it's not something that I really considered. And I would have patients who say, oh, I've been paying into it for 30 years. And then if they need, and what long-term care insurance paid was somebody to help you at home, pretty much. It's not the skill care that we call that Medicare would cover for a short time. It's like someone to help you bathe, take you to the doctor, cook for you, those things. And then most of these insurances were like, oh, you got to pay for it out of pocket for 90 days before it kicks in. And I'm like, do the math. You've been paying into it for how many years? And what are you getting? This is what people don't think about that. Do the
Okay.
math and see how much you paid into it and what you're getting out of it.
And that has been, that's kind of been my opinion, because it is something that I considered, particularly seeing how things played out for my mom.
Mhm.
But I did the math and I reminded myself that insurance
Mhm.
companies are in business to make money.
To make money,
And
of course.
I've seen it with flood insurance. I've seen it, with car insurance. I've seen it with homeowners insurance. Ultimately, my belief is that they are just like any other insurance company and are not going to just open up the wallet
No, they
when it's
don't.
your turn to start
Mhm.
paying for things. They're
Mhm.
either going to say, okay, well, you got to pay for X number a month out of pocket. And here you've been
Before
paying
it kicks in.
policy for 20, 30 years. They've gotten tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of
From
dollars for
you.
you, and
Yes.
you're supposed to come out another 20 grand out of your pocket. Or I assume they will try and find some way to deny the claim.
I think that most insurance companies do first. It's like automatically, and then if you fight, they'll work with you. But if you're like, oh, okay, then you go and pay. So I would say just save the money and try to manage
And
it better. And that's why if you in a place like we have a sister here with her 97-year-old mom, right? So she took her out of a nursing home because she couldn't take care of her. And then here she has somebody being with her every single day. And she said, I could never afford that in the States. And I know I used to charge people $30 an hour. I mean, the majority of us do not have, a big plot of cash where we can just dip into, we're just kind of managing everything. And then she said, I am so happy I did it because my mom is getting the best of care and I'm not worried and she's taking care of her mom. So a lot of us in our group, it's like when something happens, we have our therapists on hand, we have our people to come and clean, we have the housekeeper, and we know how much it costs. We're like, no, I'll pay somebody to come and take care of me here. And that's why we're not even considering facility type of care. I'm totally against that because I don't want that for me and I don't want that for any of my sisters. So when somebody is in need, we jump in.
um, yes, you're talking about self-insurance, and that's
Mhm.
that's kind of been my opinion on it. And so I'm very happy to hear that you share that opinion
I do.
because, excuse me, you set that money aside, you have it invested, when you're
And then make it
younger.
work for you so you can get a few dollars and then it will be there
Yeah.
when you need it.
So that it grows into a sizable amount of money that can then be used to pay for the care that you want.
I think that's the
And it's
best
not like
way.
I just got to get the care that I can afford. It's actually you can
Right.
get the care that you want. There's a sister here who is late 60s, early 70s. And one of the things, as her lease is up, she's getting ready to look for a new place. She wants a larger place because her plan is to age here. And that way, when she brings in help, They can have their own space,
Okay.
you know. And I'm when she told me that, I was like, I need more people to be thinking about this
Hmm.
in those terms. It's kind of wild to me that so many but at the same time, it's not, because I know we don't talk about aging, we don't talk about end of life, that kind of thing, that we very much understand saving for a down payment on a house, starting a college fund for our kids, our nieces, our nephews. But the idea of putting money aside, not just for like, oh, so I can retire and not have to work,
Hmm.
but to pay for the care that I
That is
want
wonderful.
when I
Yes.
need it.
And I think, yeah, it's a good thing that you're saying that, because people really like, when I'm talking to my kids, they need to start thinking along those lines. Because when you're a millennial, you're in your 30s, you vibrant, you're not thinking, because there's some young people who become disabled too and are going to live like decades. And how are you going to pay for that care? So it's not just folks who are thinking of retirement. Everybody should be planning for that, because it only takes one accident.
If there's one thing we think about and talk about less than aging, it is the probability that we could become disabled,
Mm. And that is
because
something
that
that is ever present. It takes one
ever present,
accident.
does not matter your age, your gender, what have you.
That's right.
The group that your single women retiring
Single
abroad,
women. Hmm.
that that's specifically for Panama, correct?
For who?
Panama.
For now, I'm getting requests. Other places want to start the same group. I had a email from this. She said she was in somewhere Eastern Europe, but she's like, I've been here 3 years, and I'm still looking for my family on the ground. And another reason, though, the group came about also, Adelia, was I needed community. We all do videos about how do you build community. When you decide, you and I being rebels, to tell your families, I'm moving, and they're like, what? Where are you going? You're going to be there by yourself? I'd go to an event here and somebody would say, you here alone? And then their eyes grow big because they cannot fathom anybody leaving their home, coming to a place alone. But it's great. We're independently minded. It's fine. But you need community. Men is not designed to live alone. We need women, men, somebody around us. So when I started researching what I was going to do, and then I zeroed in on the single woman who is older, I was like, well, I need some sisters. I need community here. That if something happens to me, somebody is going to look after me, call my family, help me out. So the group also has that mandate that we want to be a support for each other to the WhatsApp group. And then recently, we've created what we call clusters within the group. And the group is not large. We're talking about around 40 women, but we're creating smaller clusters. And I keep saying, you need to guys to get deeper in the relationship. So it's not, so if it's 3, 4, 5, these are your girls. So if something happens, they're going to jump in for you before it reaches me. So everybody knows each other's apartments. So we're doing the cluster geographically because we don't have a building where we're all going to live together. So I'm like, if we like two buildings close to each other, like in my building, I have a couple of sisters. There is one, two buildings over. You're sharing your key to your apartment. When you're going away, they're watering your plants, walking your dogs, and stuff like that. That's the kind of support. And if you're in the hospital, we are there, right? And me, I cook. I'll bring you some soup.
I'm
So
this is
community is important, like tomorrow
Yes.
we're having our tea where we wear white and stuff. So we do a lot of social things, but I do a lot of educational stuff too. I bring in speakers once a month. We talk about things that are important to the aging older woman who is here alone. Alone. I'm getting some, well, what about if I have a boyfriend? Why don't you? This one says, "Well, I'm married," but I'm like, but you have your person. We're
Yeah.
trying to find our person within our group. So anyway, So community is important to us.
A lot of what you're talking about, I have kind of taken the role to do
Uh-huh.
this with my friends. And I'm
Good.
like, because there's, you know, we've all exchanged keys. We have the list of, like, I've shared WhatsApp um, contacts
Mm-hmm.
for
Emergency.
my family back in the States. So, like,
Yep.
if this is who you call,
That's it.
you know, having them all put on the refrigerator, the list
Yes.
of contacts, you
Mm-hmm.
know, all of that sort of thing. So when you start to branch out, I might ask if I can share the Mexico
Oh,
City.
absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. So I said, when she said, would you consider starting a swap? Was it in Belgrade, Belfast, or somewhere? I said, girl, you book me a ticket, you put me on, I will show you how to do it. Because we are looking for sisterhood, and then it comes into the co-living. Some people are considering that, and it's just that I want them to be connected on a deeper level, that these are your sisters. So if a sister wants to join our group, you have to be committed to understand that when you join this group, if a sister needs you, it's not a if I have time or if, it's an expectation.
it's what they say, the price of community is inconvenience. Like,
Yes.
you cannot reap the benefits from having the community without having to contribute.
Exactly. And some people, I'm telling you, Adelia, they are here, they're just concerned about play, play, play. I said, I don't have anything against play, play, play. But have you thought deeply about the what ifs when something happens to you, right? Finding somebody in their apartment for after 5 days. That's not gonna happen if you hooked up with the community. We check in every day. If we don't hear from you,
Yes.
somebody's gonna be knocking on your door.
I am famous for sending that text that says, "Are you alive?
Hmm.
I've not heard from you today."
Yes. So yeah, that's important. And I think they appreciate that. Some people don't like the fact that they're obligated to do certain thing. And I'm like, I get it, sis. Then it's okay. This is not the group for you. Because if you can't be one of our values is empathy and compassion, right? So it has to be more about you really caring for this person like your own sister. It goes beyond casual friendships. And I read about this community, I want to say in Texas somewhere, where they have like a tiny village, tiny home village, where
Hmm.
they do, it's like the same concept of neighbors checking on neighbors and caring for each other. The thing we used to have, eons ago, and we're realizing we need that as we're
You've got
getting
to make your
older.
village.
Yes,
You've got to create your village, and
you
that
do.
particularly, and okay, specifically, I wanted to talk to you about aging abroad. But really, if you're going to be living, doesn't even have to be abroad. For the folks that are
Exactly,
staying in the States,
exactly.
this is what you need to be doing as well.
And I think some
Because
people know that the idea, and I think I read about another somewhere in Asia where a bunch of friends, they said, "Oh, okay, we went on age." I don't know if you saw that, and then they bought this big old house. Everybody has their own space, and they get together, and they're like accountable to each other. That's the level. That's the part that's hard. We
yeah,
can say, yeah, we want to live abroad. I have my little place. If you, I can't say you PMSing anymore because it's way past that time. But if you're having a moment where you don't want to be around people, you need to have a space where you can go be by yourself, and we leave you alone. We don't have to come saying, "Are you okay?" You know how when you were married and you're in that moment, and then you just want to be alone, and everybody's coming to say, "Are you all right? Would you just leave me
yeah.
alone? I'll be okay." But you have your space, but then you come together, because isolation is not a good thing for older people. So
And no,
anyway,
it's not a good thing for anybody.
and
Eh,
you're right.
because we're figuring that out with young folks as well.
You're right.
Um, Let me ask you something. What what advice do you have for women who are, like you said, older, maybe like 70, 80, and they really want to move abroad? but they're not sure if that's even possible for them, how to make it work. What advice do you have for them?
And I think that's, I think the majority of the calls that I do with people, maybe usually they would have seen one of my videos and then they're like, oh, well, I never thought I could do it, but maybe I can, but I need someone to hold my hand. So it's like, well, let's have a conversation. Where are you? I have a document that I do, I call it self assessment. Ask yourself these questions, right? Are you a self starter? Have you traveled? Do you own a passport? Are you comfortable living among people who don't look like you? How do you bounce back from something that happened? That mindset is vital for you to live among people who don't think like you when things don't go the way as fast as you think they should. And, we own the manana mindset here. And I know other places do too, but it's like it'll get done whenever. People who are uptight will have a hard time. How are your finances? If you're in debt up to here, I don't know that you can consider moving abroad where you're carrying all that debt. What kind of family situation do you have? Do you have family members who are going to disown you totally if you move abroad? Have people start thinking along those lines. And then they'll say, well, I'd love to move. Somebody said yesterday, but I have a son who's an autism spectrum and I think it's going to be difficult. Are those things, are there services available to you over here? Well, I haven't researched that because that is not my area of concentration, but that's something you need to start looking at. So when you tell me you want to leave in about a month and you haven't looked at any of those things, I'm like, sis, don't jump from one thing and fall into the fire. You have to take your time and assess your situation. It's like, can I make this work? And that's our job. If you tell us what your family situation is, we're going to tell you, yes, I think you can, but work on this, right?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. So very rarely I'm like, well, she done the research. She doesn't have any debt. She doesn't have any kids. Yeah, go for it, sis. Come to visit. Some people come here sight unseen. I'm like, you can do
That's a
it.
that's a gamble.
I know I couldn't do it. Know thyself. Yes, there's a lady here. She said I met her. She said, "Oh, you no, I just I'm on a plane came with my dog." I'm like, "Whoa, I admire that." The other day I saw her. She said, "No, I'm going back to the States." Listen, we're not trying to rain on your parade when we tell you to do your work, your homework. Because even if you had the finances, not everybody's mindset is suitable for living abroad. There's still a bit of trash. Oh my God, it's so dirty. Stay over there. If you don't ever want to see dog poop somewhere, stay over there. They love dogs here. You know what I'm saying? Know yourself.
Yes.
Clutch your pearl at every little thing. If you hear somebody got robbed, I got pickpocketed. Did I just pack up and left because of that? No, because it was my fault.
It is part of this. I blame a little bit on social media and technology because I share my life abroad, you share yours. It is very easy for somebody who might not be cut out for this life to
Mhm.
see, oh, well, Maggie's having a great time and assume their experience will be the same where they haven't done what you said. They haven't really, reflected on who they are, what they like, what they need, what their financial situation is. And so you get those folks who are like, y'all out here misleading folks, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I'm
Yes.
sharing you what my life is like. But
Uh-huh.
also, like, you need to know these things about me. And that's what makes me cut out to be doing this. And it's
Exactly.
not just because somebody else does it. On the one hand, if somebody else can do it, yes, you can do it too. But we need to look a little deeper than that and
Yes.
ask more questions and dig a little deeper. One of my dear friends lives in Panama. She lived here for 6 years. She's, I think, in her fourth year there in Panama. And she always says, find somebody who is living your life, the
Mhm.
life that you want, at the level
Mhm.
that you want it, and ask those people
Right.
questions. instead of just making these assumptions about, because there's certain elements of this that you're not going to get through a YouTube video.
Exactly. And it's like, Maggie never told me about that. Well, I can't tell you every little thing. And I've had some people, as I said, who have said, well, thank you for the insight. I didn't think about that. Let me look at it again. Maybe it's not Panama. Maybe it's Mexico, you know? And I respect that because I'm like, it's not for everybody. And my mindset, the way I see life is that if there's a challenge, I'm going to hit it head on. I'm not going to say, oh, woe is me. Oh my God. I'm just not wired that way. But I don't know how you handle unexpected situations. You know, landing in Rwanda at 1 o'clock in the morning and then at the airport saying, oh, no, no, there's no place for you to sit. You have to figure out what to do. You don't speak Rwanda. You don't speak this. You figure it out. Are you that person? When I
Yeah.
got robbed, I had to go to the police station and sit there and give a long report. And if you're just going to use your Google Translate for every little thing, you're going to be really, I speak Spanish. So that was another thing for me that said Panama was okay. But all these frustrations that things you don't expect could come. And after one of those episodes, you're frustrated, you couldn't really tell him, you had to call someone and pay a translator, or you're going to pack up and go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it takes introspection, and you cannot just pack your bag and show up here. And I'm worried in Panama right now because we have a lot of migration, a lot of people coming. The landscape is shifting a little bit where we have not just retirees but younger families, you know, because everything happening over there. And I'm worried that there hasn't been enough time to do the research to see the what ifs. And then we're going to have casualties like we've had in Ghana. People say, oh, I'm going with $8,000, and they think they're going to be able to live for like 5 years. And it's like, and then the guy said, my money was gone in 3 months. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what do you do now? And he was young, no social security. So you got to think. It's not utopia, but it can work if you do your research. And then I told people in the beginning, research 2 or 3 places and don't have stars in your eyes. Just be logical and say, okay, and then look at it and see who scores higher. And then go with that place that has the things that's important to you: community, affordable health care, lower cost of living. You know, if weather is important to you, people come here, oh, the heat, like Adelia, you know, that person
Yeah.
talking to me, oh, it's too hot.
Hey,
I
I
don't
know
like to
me.
sweat.
And so the minute I stepped off that plane, I was like, oh no, this
No,
ain't
no,
it.
no, no.
And that's okay. That's okay.
Exactly. But I tell people we do have the mountains, you know, you can go to the mountain. You just have to be okay with the iguanas and the scorpions and the snakes.
See? Now let me
I'm
ask
like,
you,
I don't like any of those.
you mentioned that your kids are grown.
Yes.
What do they think about your decision to relocate abroad and your decision to age abroad?
Well, I think they're probably relieved, but and you know, that was one of the reasons that says I don't want to leave that decision to them. I don't want to burden them with the decision. Therefore, I'm taking the bull by the horn and creating that for myself. Now, my daughter, I have one daughter and 2 sons. You know, the boys are like, but she's like, well, mom, you know I'll take care of you. And I'm like, yeah, you have a little apartment in DC. There's no window. I can't live there like this. So they were like, because I'm a traveler like you, I've been around and I can work it. You know, I'd be in Paris with a backpack and just moving from this. And it's like, they're like, we knew she'd be going somewhere. It was not a surprise. So in some of my videos, I talk about the emotional toll of moving abroad, where people have family dynamics that are not encouraging or supporting, you know, or supportive. And that's the problem because you could be over here and then you're like, you know, talking to you, you're being shunned. They're like, oh, she's a traitor, blah, blah, blah. Or you have aging parents who are like you said before, Well, I brought you into this world. This is your job to take care of me. What do you think? Where do you think you're going? Who's going to take care of me? Take me to the doctor. That's part of the assessment. Do you have that situation? How do you handle it? Because the mental, the guilt, and everything that you may have while physically you're not there, but your mind and all that is over there, and you getting the pull, and you can enjoy this time. My kids are grown. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have any grandkids to worry about. I know you have grandkids. And so it was a perfect situation for me, but I know it's not the same for everybody. And I empathize, and I'm like, if your mental health is that bad, I said consider, like, what is it that you guys call it again? Just going there for a short time. What do you have a name for it, you ladies? You call it, but it's not for everybody to just pack up and sell everything and go. It's a huge decision, and it takes a lot of mental agility to do it. And then now that you're hearing all this stuff going on back home, and then you're being pulled and you're worried, and it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I, like you said, part, I guess it figured into this, it just kind of all worked for me, was I did not want to put my children in the situation my mother put me in.
There you go.
And so like I just said this the other day, my job right now, like I raised y'all, my job right now is to make sure I am not a burden to you. And part of me doing that is living where I live in this way. And it is, there was some other reasons why I chose to leave the States, and to see those things coming to fruition. And just like I can make my choice, my children are adults, they can make their choices, and
Exactly.
their choice may be to stay. And I have to, come to terms with that, what that means for my grandkids, you know. Um, so yeah, it is not all rainbows and unicorns when you make this choice,
No.
but I am still confident in that decision because of the life I've been able to create, of the life that I feel like I will have as I continue to age, um, for however long that is.
Yeah. But now with everything going around, people are saying, well, do you feel safe in Panama? I know they ask people who live in Ecuador and Colombia and Mexico, all this, the threats. I said to someone the other day, I said, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
If the bombs fall, let them fall. First of all, at my age, it's like I tell people, don't hang on to your life too tightly, because so much
Smart.
is out of your control. And I'm sitting here, I have a water view, and I'm like, every time I see a helicopter, I'm like, well, I wonder if that's the one. So I'm like, well, I can't run. I can go into my shower and sit there and wait, but you do what you can and let the rest
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I control the
I
universe.
I tell people all the time, if when hell breaks loose, when it all comes crashing down, there is no place I would rather be than where I am right now.
There you go.
Like, have if there's a party at the end of the world, the biggest and the best is going to be here in Mexico. Like, come on now.
It's gonna be
So,
Mexico.
yeah, like, this is exactly where I want to be. And so, yes, I do get asked that a lot about, how
I
I
said,
feel
I'm not
safe
going
and what have
anywhere.
you.
Where would you suggest I go that you
Yeah,
consider safe?
because safety is an illusion anyway.
It is an
But
illusion.
yeah.
Mm.
Um, is there anything you think we need to talk about that we haven't?
I think as we talk about healthcare, because of my background, and in fact, my live, I do a live on the weekend. We're going to talk about it again. It's like it is one area that should be of concern to people my age, right? If you like your age group, you're 50 something, right? 40.
Yeah, about to be 51.
Right. In Panama, it's a lot easier for a younger person to secure health coverage, right? But once you hit 65, it's like the doors are shutting down because, oh, we don't cover any pre-existing condition, we don't do this and that. And I'm like, how many people do you know who live to be that age and not have had something happen? So this is something that whoever is considering Panama or any country to do their research on the availability and accessibility of good health coverage. Because any other countries that we're considering moving to, everybody says the healthcare is superb, better than what we are used to, whether it's Panama, Ecuador, Mexico, right? But do you have coverage for emergencies? Let's say you have a stroke and you have a heart attack or you need bypass surgery. If you have cancer and you need chemo, those are the things when they talk to me and I'm like, before, if you have a complicated medical history or presentation, do a consultation with the physician on the ground and talk to them about your case to see if you can effectively and safely and affordably manage that. If you tell me I had cancer and I need to have an MRI of a couple of months, I got to do this and this and that, and you have all your team where you are, I was like, you got to really think hard before you hop on that plane. Will you be able to continue your care? Or will you be going back and forth every couple of months? You do the math, the airfare and all that. I'm like, it adds up. So sometimes, yes, you feel like you're in the fire over there, but don't run somewhere else, not understanding how it works. Because as older people here, we really don't have access to a lot of medical insurance. Medicare Advantage, so far, it is said they will cover you for emergency, but you got to pay first and
Out
then
of
submit
pocket.
your claim and then fight that battle. You know, the battle that they deny, deny, deny. So that's that. But we do have some options for preventative care with a lot of us pay out of pocket and stuff. But when you get to be a certain age, like in your 80s, chances are you're not going to find any coverage.
I I am glad you mentioned that because that is something that like I've recently discovered. Um, and
Yeah.
it's one of the reasons I was like, okay, with the current health insurance company that I have, it's for
Mhm.
catastrophic coverage, which is
Mhm.
pretty much I found to be the norm in like Mexico, Central
Yes.
America. Coverage is not going, if you have health insurance, they're not going to cover like your annual visits to the doctor. That's expected, you cover
We
that.
all
But
pay out
it's
of
like
pocket. Hmm.
you are in an accident, you develop cancer, you have to be hospitalized. And I was looking through like, at what age will they cover me? And
Hmm.
then the question is, okay, so what happens when I am older than that?
After. Hmm.
And that is not something I ever considered in the States. But if you are abroad, that is absolutely something that
You
you need to
should.
consider, is that at
Yes.
some point you will not be able to get private health insurance. Now,
Hmm.
depending on the country, they may
Hmm.
have a public system, and
They
then
do.
there are the ins and outs of how to navigate that and what that looks like.
Right. Right. And that's what I do my lives about to tell them the difference between the public and the private. Yeah, the private, you may not have access, you still have access to the public, but no, you don't have the bells and whistles. And, bring your sheets, your cover, your
I was about
pillow.
to say, you got to bring your sheets. Somebody needs to be bringing you something to eat. They give you the hospital, but not all that extra stuff.
And they give you your slip. You need an IV, go pay for it over there at the window and bring the slip. You get your IV.
Yup.
So that's why I tell the ladies, I'm like, you have to have a credit card with where you can have a big, I don't know, what do you call that, limit on it,
Yeah.
so that when you get there, this girl was in the hospital. She said every little thing. They're like, tarjeta, tarjeta, give it a swipe it. Oh, you need an ultrasound, tarjeta, swipe it. Before they can do it, you got to pay. So some
Yes.
people are like, oh my God, oh my God. And I told this girl, she was in her like 40s, and I'm like, you might pay $150 to $200 a month for insurance. She's like, oh my God, that's expensive. I'm like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
Where did you come
Where
from?
did you come from that that's expensive?
They don't want to pay for anything. So you gotta really change your mindset about that because healthcare is not the same over here. You still have to pay.
And I would, and you would know better than me, but I would argue that a lot of the assumptions we have about healthcare in the States, and, you know, it, I think outside the States where they are very upfront, like we need to charge your card right here and now.
Yeah,
A lot of that exists in the States. It's just you have no idea how much it costs until a bill shows
the
up
bill comes.
months later and the insurance company is like, maybe we paying this, maybe we not.
I know. And I don't think a lot of people spend enough time thinking about that. They're like, well, how much is the rent? And I'm like, if you need to ask other questions besides that, because that is not the most important thing for you, especially as an older person. And I think older people have different needs. Like we have a sister, well, she's not a sister, she's somebody local who had an incident and she's in a facility that kind of mimics like a nursing home. But I'm like, but that's exactly what we don't want. I don't want that for me or my sisters. I want the therapist to come take care of me. I want to hire someone to come and take care of me at home. So that's why people have to be on the same page and be comfortable. And some people would say, this one sent me a message yesterday. She said, "What are the reason why people return?" Because I did a video that about 30 up to 70% of people who move abroad return for multiple reasons. And one of the reasons is healthcare. The other one is missing children, grandbabies. You know, you don't want to miss another grandchild. Some of them is the language. You know, you've been here 7 years and you still can't understand what anybody is saying to you. The isolation and the way things are done that is so different from what your expectations are will drive you mad. The bureaucracy, the slowness of things. And I'm like, does that bother you to the point that it's really a deal breaker? You have got to do your homework and say, well, I don't think I could live in an environment like that. And that's okay. Decide that before you come here, you sold your house, brought the dog, and then all of a sudden you say you have to go back. And I've had people who come here, stay here for 6 months and say, mm-mm, not for me. And I'm like, that is good. At least you had the foresight to try it before you sold everything and come because it's not for everyone.
Probably somebody's going to get mad at me for saying this,
You
but
get a lot of messages.
but what you have basically done is you've explained it's the difference in mindset that is between somebody who is choosing to immigrate versus somebody who is moving with this idea of I'm going to be an expat. Um, because when you commit to the life, when you commit to a place, you are saying, yes, these things exist, and I will figure out how to navigate them. I
Exactly.
will find the people, the community I need in order to navigate this. Like, because as you were saying that, I'm thinking, like, I have committed to this life in such a way that none of those things are going to be
Would
deal
phase
breakers.
you,
Like,
yeah.
they would have to put me out.
Yeah, that's what I say. I say I'm gonna stay here until they said you're no longer welcome. Then okay, I'm gonna have to fold. And but that's always in the back of your mind, right? Because just because we are here, like somebody would come and say, "Oh, you call yourself expat, you're immigrant." Okay, whatever you want to call me, that's fine. But I'm very respectful of the culture. I stay in my lane. You don't need to go online blasting, oh, there is trash, there is this, there is that. If it's that bad, what are you doing here? Right?
That part.
And I like the fact that you mentioned retiring versus aging abroad. And I need to kind of make that distinction because that's what this uh, makes us look a little bit different because we're not just about retiring, we're about creating a new life. Because when I introduce my videos and I'm like, we are a group of sassy older ladies who have made the conscious decision to retire here in Panama, create community while we reinvent ourselves. Because as sassy women who are healthy, I'm 68 years old. People say you don't look 68. Well, thank you. I may have genetics, but it's a lifestyle, it's a mindset and getting away from the stress, everything you ladies talk about. detoxing and kind of getting trauma, whatever, because people are traumatized over there. So
Oh,
you come here
definitely.
and you're living. I did a video the other day where women are living 81.1 years on the average, which means more. Some people are living longer than that, some less than that. But if you retire at 62, that's another 20, 30 years. So you can recreate yourself and you can be vibrant. You can have new careers. So many things you can do. So when you say retiring, when retiring means, oh, I'm putting my burden down, I'm going to do anything. No, no, no. People say, well, I don't understand why you're so busy. It's by choice because I
Yeah.
love what I do. I love being um, involved in things, creating. It keep my mind going. That's self-serving too. So if you just want to sit down and just do nothing, sis, it's not going to work good for you. So I like that distinction. It's not retiring, but aging abroad. And that's what people have to understand. It's a conscious decision. No one made me do it. I'm not running away from anything. It's a decision I made to come here. And I haven't had one day where I've regretted that. Not one day to say, oh, I wish I was over there doing this and that. In fact, when I go back and I'm like, I feel like a stranger. It's time to go back.
That part. That part.
Don't you feel like disconnected?
Yes, it's not it's not my place. It's
You need to
it
go back to where you're comfortable.
yeah, it's not my place. That is not the place for me. And like
Mm.
I'm cool with that realization. It's just I don't know that I don't know if I thought it would ever happen or if I didn't think it would happen so quickly, but I
Yes.
know exactly what you're talking about.
But it's not just us. It's like everybody who goes back, they say they can't wait to get back because you do not realize what it was doing to you when you were in it
Yeah.
until people, except Adelia, when they got to the airport, it was like, the stress. And Adelia, all she talked about was the heat, the heat.
Again, I this is one of the reasons that this is the place for me. Like hot is 85. That's what I'm talking about. And we virtually have
Not a
no humidity.
hundred.
So, I could have easily looked at people who were living places like Panama and been like, bet that's what I'm going to do. But no, that was not the right place for me. And,
Because you're where you need to be.
I'm where I need to
And
be.
everybody
Um,
needs to find their place. Mhm.
Thank you so much for
You're
giving up
welcome.
some of your Friday morning to come and talk to me and talk to my audience. If folks want to know more about the work that you do,
Mhm.
where can they find you?
Well, I am on YouTube at Single Women Retiring Abroad, and I have a Facebook page. It's called The Happy Retiree. That's the Facebook page I had before, the single women.
Mhm.
So that's where I post things that are happening in Panama. If we have our meetups and meetings, when people want to come to visit Panama, they're like, "Oh, how are you having any event?" And I'm like, "You have to go on the Facebook page. That's where we post under our event." I'm not so active on Instagram, and I am not going to be on TikTok. I'm figuring like two social media platform. That's enough for me.
I'm with you. I'm
Yeah,
with
it's
you.
just too much. So I have my little community. I talk to them, and I do like I started a podcast this in January where I do like 5 minute encouraging thing in the morning. I do a cooking show on Sundays because I am blessed to be able to merge my love of older people because I'm a gerontologist in my practice. That means study of aging, and I'm able to merge that with my cooking because I'm mostly whole food plant based, and then I teach them, healthy dishes. So my life is full, and even though I'm aging, but I'm aging well abroad, and also I do like an exercise program with my ladies Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I stay busy. So when we talk about aging, I do what I can to make it work for them, make it seamless and easy, nutrition, exercise, and then we talk. And that's all I want to do. I do have a couple of ebooks out, but I do what I want to do, what I like to do.
That's
And
what
when
I love.
people talk to me and they say, "Oh, I get inspired because you're doing it," then that gives me hope that I can do it. I'm like, "Yes, sis, you can." And if they need a little help, we have a little 1 hour conversation, and I send them the sources and information that they need, and they're like, "Oh, thank you, I got my visa. Thank you, Miss Maggie." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm here for," and that's what this single women retiring abroad YouTube channel is all about.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.